This is to say a very good afternoon to the listeners of Phoenix FM, a community radio station based in Dublin 15, 92.5. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to today's show, Africans in Ireland with Adeboale Adebisi. And I hope you, our listeners, you are very well and the weekend so far has been great. Today I have Honorary General Consul of Sierra Leone in Ireland in the studio. His name is Joe Manning. Now, before I bring Joe Manning in, I would like to tell you one or two things about Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is one of the countries in West Africa. It's a republic with a population of about 7.5 million people based on 2015 national census. It is a constitutional republic with a directly elected president and a unicameral legislature. And today I have with me again with Joe Manning. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you. How are you today, Joe?
I'm very well, thanks.
It's
very
nice to meet with you. I hope you are keeping well. Are you okay?
I'm very good, thank you.
It's nice to meet with you. And will you introduce yourself officially to the listeners of Phoenix FM 92.5, please?
Right, well, the first thing I'd like to say is, when you asked me, was I very well, I'm actually quite sad today because of what has happened in Freetown, but I know we will come to that.
I'll come to that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I went to Africa first, 1974, 75.
Okay.
I went out there as a young teacher, and I taught in a secondary school in Sierra Leone. It was out of what we called, it was out in the bush, but it was a terrific school. It was run by the missionaries there, and I enjoyed 2 years there, very much teaching the school. At the same time there, we embarked on a development program. What we tried to establish was a farm that any Sierra Leonean could manage.
Okay.
So we grew groundnuts, we grew rice, we grew corn, cassava, coffee, and we kept 2 pigs.
This was when?
This would have been in 1975.
Okay.
Back then, this was attached to the school, so the students in the secondary school could learn the basics of agriculture.
Oh.
And in fact, when we were there, we got some money from overseas, and we put down about a 6-7 acre palm plantation, which I'm happy to say is still generating money for the school today.
Oh, that's good.
So I would just like to say that they were among the 2 most happiest and fulfilling years of my life in Sierra Leone.
Okay. What other things can you tell our listeners generally about Sierra Leone? Now, you said you were a teacher there for 2 years. Did you say 2 years?
2 years, yes.
Is it only 2 years you spent out there? You spent more than that?
Well, I've been over and back to Sierra Leone.
Between now and then?
Yeah, between now and then.
Okay.
But really I lost contact with Sierra Leone after I came back, because I got married and had a family and all those things.
What year did you return to Ireland?
I returned in 1976.
Okay.
And I got married in 1980, and then I was busy with the family and all of that. And it was only at the outbreak of the Civil War in Sierra Leone, that was 1991.
1991, yeah.
That a group of us came together, people who had worked in Sierra Leone.
In Ireland, yeah.
In Ireland, the Irish people who had worked in Sierra Leone. We came together to try and influence the Irish government to see if they could do anything about the war in Sierra Leone. Now, needless to say, they couldn't do very much. But we kept the pressure on them, and when the war was finished, then we put pressure on them to make Sierra Leone a program country. Now, some of your listeners mightn't understand what that is.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll explain that. The Irish government has a budget, an overseas development budget, of about 600-700 million euros, which seems like a lot of money, but in international development, it's not huge. So rather than spread all that money all over a whole lot of countries, they decide, let's pick a number of countries and concentrate on them. And with those countries, we make an agreement that we will stay working with you for 25 years. And we will put our resources into that country. So up to about 6-7 years ago, all of these countries were in East Africa. Uganda, Malawi, Tanzania, not Kenya, Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, yeah.
Yeah, they were all in East Africa.
That you have Irish people have a lot of presence in Ethiopia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's what's called a program country.
Oh.
That's why.
I know.
That's why. So the Irish government concentrates its money on a few countries. So our big task was to get Sierra Leone to be a
part of
country.
the program.
And after a lot of persuasion, we did persuade them to make Sierra Leone a program country.
Okay.
So now Sierra Leone is a program country. So the Irish government has committed to working with the Sierra Leone government for the next 25 years.
Okay.
So the Sierra Leone government is guaranteed that. And with the result, following on from that, the Irish government opened an embassy in Freetown.
Freetown, yeah.
And that embassy, there's an ambassador there, and a very active ambassador there. She is very active there. And the normal thing would be that the Sierra Leone government would open an embassy in Dublin.
Okay.
But resources are scarce in Sierra Leone.
Oh.
So I don't think they will be opening an embassy there for quite some time yet.
Okay.
So then they asked me to be their honorary consul here, to represent the government, Sierra Leone government in Ireland.
Okay.
So I became the honorary consul, I think, in about 2005.
Oh.
So I've held that job since then.
What did you do as honorary consul?
The Sierra Leone community in Ireland is not huge.
Okay, like how many people do you think
I would say 150 to 200 people.
Just that?
Just that.
Oh.
But the surprising thing is that the connection between Ireland and Sierra Leone is huge.
They wouldn't need an embassy for that number.
Well,
what do you think?
It's not that so much. It's just that because Ireland, the Irish government is working closely with the Sierra Leone government.
Okay.
That's why they need an embassy here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's to do with that more than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a huge connection between Ireland and Sierra Leone. If you meet anybody, or sorry, most people, who are the leaders of society in Sierra Leone, they were nearly all educated by Irish missionaries.
Mm.
That you had the
as teachers
and the priests there,
Oh.
And there's a huge connection there between Ireland and Sierra Leone, going back 200 years.
What do you want to tell us that?
Well, you see, a lot of the administrators in the time of the British Empire were Irish.
Okay.
They were Irish, and so you find sometimes that people in Sierra Leone have Irish names.
Okay.
Because they would have worked with the Irish families,
So.
and they adopted their names. So you will find some Irish names there, particularly around Freetown. But anyway, going back to where we were earlier, you asked me about what I do.
What do you do?
Yeah. I suppose I am kind of nearly the godfather of the Sierra Leone community.
The godfather.
If they have problems, they come to me.
They come to you. Oh.
Yeah, because they have nobody else.
Oh.
They have nobody else to go to because there's only about 150 to 200. They are very scattered.
Yeah.
So they don't have a big presence like, say,
in
maybe
Nigerians
might have, or that. They don't.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the focal point for them. So if there's a problem, they come to me.
Like, what are the typical problems they come to you for?
If they're having problems with immigration, they will come to me.
Okay.
If they have, and this doesn't happen very often, thank God, if they have a problem with the law, they will come to me. But that really, Sierra Leoneans are very peace-loving people. That doesn't happen too often. Sometimes financial problems, whatever. Social problems. you know, I don't want to go into too much detail about it because it's kind of private, but I tend to get involved. Like, if somebody might want to bring a relative to Ireland.
To Ireland, okay. Yeah.
They come to me.
Settlement and all that.
And
they need a letter or they need something like that. Okay.
Yeah. So I would advise and help in those areas. You know, so that's what I do.
Apart from that, do you represent the government? Maybe, like, I know that maybe if Irish government want to do something in Africa, I mean in the country, and they are, you know, the way they invite the ambassadors from each country, do you represent them in such a gathering, or?
I don't wait for an invitation.
Oh, how do you do that?
I go in myself.
That's good.
And I will go into the Department of Foreign Affairs a couple of times a year.
Okay.
To make sure that Sierra Leone is
our representative, and they get what they are due for.
And they get their slice of the cake.
Of the cake. Oh, that's good.
But I'm made very welcome there. You know, I'm very welcome there because I know that they are committed to Sierra Leone for the next 25 years. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is to create links outside of government between Ireland and Sierra Leone. Links in education.
And sort of business too.
And business and education and possibly health, but that's a bit down the road. Like already now we have got a terrific organization called the Global School Room. The Global School Room.
Okay.
Which is a very dynamic, small Irish NGO. And what they do in-service training for teachers. Because of the Civil War, for a long time there was no training for teachers.
Oh.
So a lot of the teachers in Sierra Leone are not trained, right?
Yeah.
So this NGO, as I say, the Global School Room, they will go, they will run a program in the school, and they will upskill the teachers.
Okay.
And they are linked to a university in Ireland.
Oh.
So that the qualifications
they
get,
them certification
comes from here, which is quite important.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing we do. We look for, see if we can develop trade links.
Okay.
But that's difficult because, first of all, Sierra Leone had the Civil War.
Yeah.
And then we had Ebola.
Yeah, the outbreak 2 years ago.
Yeah. So we're just getting up off our feet, and now we're flattened down again.
Yeah.
And now we have this, and now we have the latest episode, which is the flooding.
Yeah.
And I think what I really fear is after the flooding we'll have cholera.
Oh.
So we're keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that that doesn't happen.
And I want to come to that, and before I go to ask any question about the mudslide that happened 2 or 3 days ago, I want to sincerely extend our condolence to yourself as a representative of Sierra Leonean government here, and to all Sierra Leoneans living in Ireland that are listening to us, that our prayer and our thoughts are with them. So,
well, thank you.
What do you know about the mudslide anyway?
Sorry?
What do you know? What happened? What really happened about the mudslide?
Okay.
I know it's a natural disaster. It's beyond any.
It's not completely natural. It's not completely natural.
It's not completely natural?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. Right. What happened? During the Civil War, an awful lot of people fled to Freetown. So the population of Freetown tripled, right? Yeah. But they didn't go back after the Civil War.
After the Civil War.
They stayed in Freetown. And Freetown is terribly overcrowded.
And is the country capital, isn't it?
It's the capital, yeah,
okay,
Freetown.
So everybody wants to be in the city, yeah?
Yeah, so everybody wanted to be there.
Oh.
And they built houses where they shouldn't build them.
Oh.
And Freetown is surrounded by big hills. So they kept creeping up the hills and putting houses up the hills.
On top of them.
And when they moved up there, of course, they took away the vegetation. And the vegetation was what, if you like, anchored the soil.
The soil, yeah.
And the World Bank said 3 years ago that this is going to happen.
What bank said that?
The World Bank said 3 years ago that this is a disaster waiting to happen. And in fact, in 2013 and 2015, we had small disasters. That, okay, not small for the few people who were killed in it, but there were. But they kept building. And this was waiting to happen. So the rain came, there was nothing to hold the soil in place, and it just came right down on top. Now, the rain has increased over the last few years, you know, with global warming. But, you know, this thing could have been prevented if people had kept to the regulations and only built where they were supposed to build. So it's very sad.
Before we started the program, you said you knew somebody who was affected by this.
Yes, I don't want to mention names,
Yeah,
but a dear friend
yeah.
of mine, I believe his brother has lost his wife and 4 children.
Oh, so sad.
So sad, and there are terrible stories. There's another story that Umaru Fofana broadcast this morning, where this man had a phone business.
Yeah.
And he decided to work late at night in his phone business.
Yeah.
And when he came back, his family were totally gone. And if he hadn't worked late that night,
he would have been buried.
He would have been buried too. There are a lot of stories like that. I think the final death toll could be close to 500.
Yeah, because as at this morning they were talking about 300.
300, yes.
I know concern is on the ground because I was listening to RT this morning and they interviewed somebody who is a representative of Concern in Ireland, Concern Ireland, which is the Irish NGO that is working in Sierra Leone. Is there anything that you think can be done from part of, you know, I know that Irish people are very, very generous and kind, and they, I mean, whenever you call them out in tragedy period like this, they actually always extend their hands of kindness. Is there anything you think they can, I mean, because we have timid listeners of Phoenix FM listening now. Do you think is there anything they can do, or do you want to solicit for anything?
First of all, to offer support and comfort to any Sierra Leoneans that they know, yes. Secondly, we are going to try and raise some money ourselves, the Sierra Leone diaspora in Ireland. In fact, we were talking about it just before I came in. I was talking to somebody about it. So in the next few days, we will be announcing something that we want to do as a fundraiser, but we would welcome any support from wherever it comes. Africans, Europeans, whatever, we would welcome it. Now, we have also asked the government, because it is a programme country, that they would put funds into Concern and Goal and any other NGOs, Irish NGOs that are on the ground. But I know the Concern and Goal are in Freetown right now, working there. So we have asked the government this morning. I sent a letter to the minister, asking him to put more funds to Concern and Goal. They're on the ground. But we will do our own thing as well, which is geared very much towards families. You know, and we should have details of that in the next few days.
So, will you mind? I want to bring you back to although the civil war is fought, and I mean, it's a sad story and sad happening. Then in Sierra Leone, the killing of each other. What can you say about although the civil war is gone, what can you say about the civil war? I was talking to you about it, and it's another understanding. We thought, my own understanding was, I thought it was an ethnic problem. Civil war, you said it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. That's the remarkable thing about it. The civil war was not religious, nor was it ethnic. It was about resources. What had happened? I mean, some people say that Sierra Leone is cursed with diamonds.
They have diamonds?
Yes, diamonds. And a lot of people have said the diamonds have been a curse. Because diamonds, it leads very quickly to corruption. Because you can have in your hand, you can have millions. Millions.
Easily.
Yes, and easily smuggled out of the country.
They're conceived,
And what happened was that the people in Freetown were taking the money from the diamonds, and they were keeping the money. And gradually the services up the country just withered away. Teachers were no longer paid, police were no longer paid, the nurses were no longer paid. That there was squabbling in Freetown over the diamonds. And the people in the country just got fed up. So when the Civil War started, a lot of people said, yes, maybe this is good, but that quickly turned wrong as well. The Civil War, Charles Taylor from Liberia.
From Liberia, yeah.
Heard of?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He moved in. In fact, some people say he lit the match to ignite the whole thing.
Yeah.
But his reason for doing it was he wanted to get his hands on the diamonds to finance his war.
Wow.
And that's what he did, effectively. And I don't know if any of your listeners might have seen the film Blood Diamonds. In fact, that was a very true representation
of what really
happened. It's surprising, because you would think Hollywood would glamorize it, but they didn't. It was a very accurate reflection. And really the Civil War was brutal and bloody, and it laid the country waste for 10 years. Right. Eventually, it came to a halt. So sometimes the British actually behaved very well then, because they moved in people there, and they got rid of the last of the rebels. Then there was a government elected, an SLPP government elected, and 5 years later there was another government elected, which was very good. The fact that one government was replaced another government peacefully.
Peacefully. The transition was smooth.
Yes. We have another, and that government, the APC government, has been there under Ernest Koroma for the last 10 years. And there's an election now in March, so we pray God
for
that goes peacefully as well.
Because I'm about to come to the present government now of the country, because having said all that, I would like to ask you, what can you really say about the present? Let's remove the tragedy that has happened.
Right.
Sierra Leone as a country now, what can you really say about it, about the government, about, because the war, from what you said now, the issue of the resources, is more or less a corruption issue too, which is the bane of many African countries. You have the leaders, in government, and they take all the cakes for themselves. So that would have been what really the whole thing about the war. Now, currently, the government of Ernest Koroma, what can you say about the country now? Is it developing? Is there an improvement of? And when last did you? Let's start from when last did you visit the country?
I was there about a year ago.
Okay, so you are going to give us a fair representation.
I was there during the Ebola.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So whatever you are going to say now is going to be a fair representation of the government, I believe. What can you say about the government of?
Well, okay, on the positive side, I can say that the country is peaceful.
Okay.
There is reasonable security there, so people can go about their daily lives. So that is good. There have been some roads built, which is good also.
Development.
But I'd have to say overall that I would be disappointed with the rate of progress.
Okay.
Excuse me. I think that the opportunities for young people there are not great. Some people would say that youth unemployment could be up to 65%.
Which is very high.
It's very high. Yeah. And there hasn't been the development of the infrastructure. For a country with such enormous natural resources, that the resources are being taken out of the country and processed elsewhere. That there isn't the development of processing these resources, which would give jobs to people and would retain the profits in the country. That has been disappointing. Now, there's a lot of talk about new developments there, and hopefully it will happen, but I would say I would give the government a B- on that score. Sometimes, I think a country can have too much resources.
And it become a problem.
And that can become a problem. And the other area that is disappointing, when I was in Sierra Leone, worked there as a young person, Sierra Leone was exporting rice. We had absolute food security. Today, Sierra Leone is importing rice all the time.
Reverse is the case.
Reverse. And there's an awful lot of money of land that could be used
for this.
For that, And there's a lot of food imported into Sierra Leone. and it shouldn't be, and that means money going out of the country. I suppose one of the problems there is that the institutions of government are not strong. Like, if I could give you an example of what I mean.
Please go ahead.
If you take the United States at the moment, right? We have a president there who is, shall we say, a little bit peculiar.
Yeah, he is.
But on the one hand, the Supreme Court, and on the other hand, Congress will box him in and will not allow him. And the senior administrators, his own staff, will not allow him do things. That's when you have strong institutions in a country. Now, sometimes in developing countries, the institutions are not strong.
Yeah, to be able to face
to face whoever's in charge.
In charge,
yeah. And that's a problem in Sierra Leone as it is in other countries. That if the institutions were stronger, if people had more faith in it, then people would invest more money in the country. But you don't like investing it when you don't know if you can get the reward.
Yeah, definitely. If the economy or the atmosphere is not conducive, investors will not go in.
They won't go in, you know.
Yeah.
So I would hope that, you know, this government and the next government, which will be elected in March, will concentrate on strengthening the institutions of the state, so that the institutions can withstand people trying to misbehave. If I think you know what I mean.
And does things work there when you were there last? Like you were saying in '75 when you were there, postal service, good, water, but from what is on the ground now, I don't think all these are working properly. No,
Sierra Leoneans are amazed sometimes when I tell them. I said, you know, when I went to Sierra Leone first in 1973, 74, it was a fantastic country. Everything worked, and worked well. Freetown was known as the Athens of West Africa, because it had the first university in West Africa.
In West Africa,
yeah. And Furra Bay, which was the Freetown, which was the university, had a terrific reputation. It had a good health service, good roads. Everything worked well. And you know, I'd say to them, that we can do that again, you know? Because sometimes I'm afraid now, sometimes people lose confidence in themselves. I'm saying, you know, you can't let that happen.
To you,
You can't let that happen. Sierra Leone was a terrific country and a great success 30 years ago. It can be that again. You know, we've all had our problems.
Yeah.
Every country has its problems now and then. But we can get over that. And I would like to see the diaspora, you know, making their voice heard as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Is there anything, like, maybe because there are not many here, it's not been helpful. Is there anything they can do from here if they come together, even though from what you said that they scatter around Ireland, if they come together, maybe they have one or two of them who are making their voice heard from this part of the world, I mean from Western world, to say about all this, about the government, put them on toes and say, okay, and talk about, development, we need this job, unemployment rate, and continue to talk about it on the radio, because seriously, you are not, for you, you are not originally from Sierra Leone to be the honorary general consul general. If you look at it, some people say, is there no any Sierra Leonean in this country that can do that on a voluntary? You are not being paid, and if somebody like them could say, okay, we can't afford to have an embassy here, but I want to be somebody, working, be a representative of the government, doing it on a voluntary role, talk all these good things about them, representing them. Somebody would say, is there no any Sierra Leone that can do that, even though you are doing a fantastic job? Now, I want to ask you something about a very positive things about what is the culture like in Sierra Leone when you were there, and their culture that you know, food, in terms of food, and their way of life, because now I know you'll be able to say one or two things about that.
Right. Well, it's a terrific culture. It really is. And it's a very, very varied culture.
Okay.
You have, if you like, 3 main groupings in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, English is the official language. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Then in Freetown, I mean, Freetown got its name because when slavery was outlawed, I mean, that was all the slave coast along
the West Africa to...
So when the British government outlawed slavery, and the Navy would patrol West Africa, the slave coast, when they caught a ship, they would bring it into Freetown, and that's how it got its name, Freetown. And the people were released there. Okay. So you had a mixture of people from all over West Africa, and they developed their own culture there. And they are what we call Creole, and the Creole language is extremely colourful. It's a beautiful language. It's a mixture of English, Portuguese, and African, and it's a very, very colourful language. Then you have the 2 main groupings. Then would be Temne and Mende, but there's no conflict between them.
They live peacefully.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of intermarriage. Like, it was never an issue. Very peaceful. That's why the Civil War shook everybody so much, because traditionally Sierra Leone are a very peace-loving people. They're very easygoing people, very nice people, great fun. I really enjoyed my time there.
Okay.
So you had the Mende and the Temne, but they're just about equal in numbers. But you don't talk about things like that there because it doesn't matter. And then from a religion point of view, I suppose about 70% of the population would be Muslim, about 30% maybe Christian.
Maybe Christian, okay.
But again, absolutely no conflict. And in the school where I was teaching, it was a Christian school run by the missionaries, but the majority of the students were Muslim.
Okay.
And there would be one boy said to me, well, he said, in Ramadan I'm a Muslim, but at Christmas I'm a Christian. And it was and there was a lot of intermarriage as well, and there was no conflict there during that time. And when I was there too, you know, I saw the societies. You had the girls' society, which was the Bundu, and you had the men's society, which was the Poro. And when boys reached the age of maybe 12, 14, they were taken off to the bush to learn the ways of a man. And the girls were taken off to the bush to learn the ways of a woman. And always happened around Easter time. And then they would come back to the village, and there would be a big dance in the village, and it was really beautiful to look at. And we would be sitting there watching the young people dancing, native dancing, and it was so peaceful and so nice and so pleasant.
And if somebody wants to visit Sierra Leone, an average person wants to visit Sierra Leone now, and the embassy is not here, and you as honorary consul general, do they contact you? How do you think, if somebody wants to go and visit and they are not a Sierra Leonean, I mean, maybe on a tour or
they have to,
what do they do?
They have to get a visa.
Okay.
Right. The visas are issued in London.
Okay.
But I would say to them, get in touch with me first.
Oh, yeah.
Then when you're making your application, let me know, and I will follow it in the embassy in London.
Oh, okay.
I will check that they have it and make sure that it's okay for you.
Okay.
But you do need. I think if you're a member of one of the ECOWAS countries,
you don't
I don't think you need a visa, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
I'm just talking of a native Irish or a Western.
Well then you do need a visa.
So would they go to Sierra Leone embassy website in UK, or they will first, because I know you have a presence on the web, because your name and everything is on the web. Will you advise them to first contact you, or they will go to the website of Sierra Leone embassy in UK and do all that and look for their and do all their paperwork then before they contact you, or will you advise you to be the first?
Well, if they come to me, I will tell them, download the forms
Okay.
from it's the High Commission in London.
Yeah.
Download the form there.
Yeah.
Get your letter of invitation from Freetown, Sierra
From
Leone.
whoever that is inviting
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Then send that plus the fee, which I think is £50.
Okay.
At least it was. It could be more now. £50. Send that to the High Commission in London with your passport, registered mail, and 2 days later I will check
Okay.
that they have got it, and to make sure that they have it, and they send it back to you. But usually it's fairly straightforward. It's very straightforward.
And you think it's quick? Like, I mean,
It's quick. Usually takes about a week.
Oh, it's about a week. For,
About a week. About a week, yeah.
And what would you advise somebody visiting there now after the visa now to like area of attraction that you know that you can advise anybody to visit when advise somebody to visit when they're in Sierra Leone? I know Freetown is the state capital.
Yeah.
And they use districts there, not a state. They use districts.
Yes, districts.
Okay,
yeah.
so
yeah. It's districts. It's not a federal government.
It's not a federal, yeah.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the best time to go there would be around Christmas.
Okay.
January, that's the dry season.
Okay.
January is the best time to go. Not during the rainy season.
Do they normally have a lot of rain in Sierra Leone?
Oh yes.
Like Ireland?
Oh, a lot more.
A lot more?
Yes.
Ah.
But I mean, so that's what caused the present mudslide. There's huge rain in Sierra Leone. And so, yeah, the rainy season starts in about April, May.
Okay.
And runs till about October.
Okay.
So
it's not advisable to go during that time?
Well, on business, yes, but not for pleasure.
Okay.
The infrastructure is not great yet in Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Like there are some lovely beaches around Freetown.
Oh.
Really nice beaches, and you have the Banana Islands.
Okay.
And guess what the name of the main town in the Banana Islands is?
What?
Dublin.
Dublin?
Dublin is the capital of the Banana Islands.
Oh.
Yes.
Visit Dublin in Freetown.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but right now, I think for the next month or so, it's probably not the best place to go because of the mudslides.
Yeah.
And my big fear now is that there will be a cholera outbreak
after the
mudslides. Yeah. So that's a big worry right now, if that can be avoided, and that's what the likes of the Red Cross and Concern and Goal will be working towards, trying to avoid that.
Mm.
But you know, come November, December, yeah, it's a nice place to go.
Okay.
And you have the Mokanji Hills, and you have a lot of wildlife up there.
Oh.
And it's a very historic place. You can go down to Banff Island, which was a trading point for slavery, and the houses are still there from that time. So it's quite historic. So it's worth visiting. It is worth visiting, but I say leave it about a couple of months until we get over this.
In Freetown, where apart from Freetown, like we said, they use district. Any other area you want to?
Yeah, well, the diamonds are in the north.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the main diamond area. Up in Tongo and places like that, that's where you have the diamonds there.
Okay.
And they're mined, they're what you call alluvial diamonds.
Okay.
They dig down and they find the kimberlite,
yeah,
which is the gravel in which you find diamonds.
What are those people mining the diamond now? Are they the government or?
Well, there is a company there that's licensed by the government.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people mining it themselves.
Okay.
And ideally, and see, they're smuggling the diamonds, a lot of the time smuggling them to Amsterdam.
Okay.
It would be much better if we had a diamond auction in Freetown. Don't smuggle them. You know, sell them, auction them in Freetown. They bring them to auction in Amsterdam and Antwerp, actually.
Antwerp, yeah.
There was talk some time ago about setting up an auction room in Freetown.
Yeah.
So people could come and bid for the diamonds.
All over the world
openly,
together, and it will help the market and all that.
Everything will be open and above board. So I don't know if that's happening or not, but there was talk about it. And the people, they were going to do it, and that way there was no longer any need to smuggle diamonds.
Yeah.
Like you can sell them in the open market there. But I don't know if that was talked about, but it hasn't happened as yet.
And the government, you know, would they have a? I'm not sure of this. The child labor. You know, there was a documentary recently on BBC, also one of these African countries, where you have, you know, children mining something.
Not so much there, no, because it's open. It's open. It's kind of open mining. It's men are doing, and they're digging in the rivers for this gravel, and they're sifting the gravel, like you'd see in films where they are mining for gold. You know, you'd see much the same.
And those companies that are mining the gold, why can't they help to develop the country? You know.
Well, they're there to make money, and they pay a license fee to the government.
Okay.
You know, so they say we are paying our license to the government. It's up to the government to spend money.
To spend money.
Improving the country.
It's like Nigeria, where you have the crude oil taken from part of the country, shipped abroad, and only a few people that are, creaming the whole thing. Yeah. It's so sad. It's so sad about it. Anyway, let's continue about the positivity of Sierra Leone. Like we're talking about your role now, and I want to come to you personally to ask about your good self. If not because of what happened, the tragedy recently, because I have asked you, how are you keeping? And let's talk generally about yourself. Do you want to say more about yourself to the listeners, your family, or any?
Yeah, before that, what I would like to say, if one positive thing can come out of this terrible tragedy in Freetown, it is pulling the Sierra Leone community much closer together here.
In Ireland?
In Ireland.
Or how do you want to do that now?
Yeah, well, we are coming, like what we're going to do, in the next, we have set up, we are collecting money ourselves at the moment, so we're going to collect money.
Okay.
Secondly, we're going to have a memorial service in the next week or 10 days, as soon as we know the outcome.
Yeah.
And what has happened and who has lost people. Yes. Then we will have a memorial service. Okay. And then we will keep in touch. We are coming together. In fact, last Saturday, I was down in Youghal, in County Cork.
Okay. Yeah.
And we had a barbecue. 30 Sierra Leoneans and myself.
Oh.
And we had a lovely day, which I'm really delighted about now, because at least it was something happy happened before this disaster.
Before this disaster. Yeah.
And we met from all over Ireland. People came from all over Ireland to come to this barbecue, which was a great success. So yes, just to repeat, that one good thing can come out of this is that it will pull us as a community closer together, and that will be good. Now you asked me about myself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still working.
Okay.
I work in adult education, which I enjoy very much. And I do a lot of adult career guidance. I work a lot with adults who are changing careers, or adults who are long-term unemployed. And I help them to find a career that will suit them, and then bring them to the proper place for training. So they can do training, so they can train, because most people who don't have a job in Ireland today is because they don't have a skill or a trade. That's mainly the reason. Right. So that's what I do myself. I'm married. Most of my children are grown up now. I have 5 daughters and 1 son.
Oh, good.
And they're all doing well. And I have 2 grandchildren.
Thank God.
And so that's fine. 1 daughter is in Dubai, another daughter is in Prague, another daughter is in Paris, and another daughter is in London. And 1 daughter lives near me at home. And so we are well scattered. But we are all home, over and back. I mean, really, Europe is such a wonderful place in some ways. And that's why I'm so upset about this Brexit. It is so sad, because, last year, my children can go and work anywhere in Europe.
In Europe,
just go on the plane,
go.
go and go.
Yeah.
Like one girl is teaching in the international school in Prague.
Yeah.
Another girl is a freelance filmmaker in London.
Mm.
And another girl, believe it or not, has just finished her master's degree in London in, of all things, terrorism.
Mm.
That's her big thing, and she hopes
Yeah.
to work in that area.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's last year we were on holidays in Europe. There's about 12 of us, all my age. The youngest is 55 and the oldest is 75.
Mm.
And we go on a bicycle trip in Europe every year.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we went to Lake Constance. It's a lake between Austria, Germany and Switzerland. And we cycle around the lake. It takes us a whole week to cycle around the lake, about 300 miles. But one day we had our breakfast in Germany, we had our lunch in Austria, and we had our dinner that evening in Switzerland. And we didn't see any policeman.
Free movement around.
Just free movement.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful. Now that used to exist in West Africa too.
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
When I was out there 40 years ago,
Yeah.
some of my friends, instead of flying home, went home by lorry. They crossed the Sahara Desert. They drove down, well, by lorry,
Yeah.
down to Kano,
Yeah, Kano, yeah.
in northern Nigeria.
Yeah.
Then they got the trucks going across the desert
Yeah.
up to Morocco.
Morocco, yeah.
Yeah, and then they flew from there. But you could do that then.
Yeah.
You could do that then. It's very easy to move. Yeah, and it was so peaceful then.
Yeah.
And I wish that West Africa could become like Europe that way. That we pull together
Is a movement around
and allow people
business
to
and
move
trade,
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be so, life would be so much better for people.
Oh, it's nice to have you, Joe. It is indeed our pleasure to have you on the show. And I must say that, again, I want to express our heartfelt condolence to yourself and all Sierra Leoneans listening to us, both in Ireland and abroad, because our radio station can be listened to online 24/7. If you don't even live in Dublin 15, because we are a community radio station that you can only get the reception in Dublin 15 in and around, but you can listen to us online, and we have loads of people connecting to us through our Facebook page. So I want to say again, so sad to hear the natural disaster that has just recently happened in Sierra Leone, and our prayer and our thoughts are with you. Now, Joe, I must say you are a very good man, and I thank you for coming on Africans in Ireland. And I hope the listeners of Phoenix FM community radio station based in Dublin 1592.5 learned one or two things about Sierra Leone. And I must say that if there's anything they can do, they will surely get in touch with you. Before I round up, do you want to give your number, if you don't mind, in case somebody wants to get in touch with you, or you can give out one or two advice in terms of whether they want to contact Go or Concern, if they want, you want them to go that.
Well, I can give you my email address.
Okay, the email address, yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Okay.
It's Joe Manning.
Okay.
JOE.
Yeah.
MANNING.
Yeah.
At aircom.net.
Okay.
Very
That's
straightforward.
Straightforward.
Very straightforward. That's my email address.
Yeah, and your position is tell people so that.
Yeah, if anybody wants to offer help,
okay.
I'll be delighted to receive it.
Okay. In respect of the Sierra Leone tragedy, monthly that has happened.
Yes.
And you are doing that based on your position as the Honorary General Consul for the country.
Yes, and if maybe somebody might like to organise something, because we are a small number.
Yeah.
Somebody might like to organise a night or something to raise funds.
Yeah.
For Freetown.
Yeah.
We will be most grateful.
Okay. And they can do that and by contacting you.
By contacting me.
Your email address, which is joemani@aircom.net.
Yes.
It is indeed our pleasure to have you on the show this afternoon, and I wish you safe journey back to your
home in Carlo.
Down in Carlo, and a very big hello to all the Sierra Leoneans, in case I know you are going to meet recently anyway because of this, and to your lovely wife and your children. Thank you for coming. And this is Adibo Aliadebisi signing on Africans in Ireland today on 92.5, your community radio station based in Dublin 15. I wish the listeners the remaining weekend to be peaceful, and I wish you well, and may the Lord be with you and bless you. Thank you. Bye.
Yesterday, today, tomorrow fade away like frozen photographs. Remember, forget the stakes, the ways you take, the ways you make the moments pass. Forever regret, I tell a beautiful lie.